Good evening, you're watching Day and Night Prime. I'm Kamar Sandhu.
And I'm Jasleen Kaur. In Prime tonight, we discuss domestic violence, a sketch that has destroyed the very fabric of our society. Our law provides for checking this menace, but getting justice hasn't been that easy for women.
The present laws shift the burden of proof on the accused. And there it is, where such a drastic paradigm shift has lent itself to gross abuse.
Dealing with domestic violence in India hasn't been that easy. The experience of approaching the police and law courts normally turns out to be very disappointing for most women. Also, there have been instances where the laws have been used as an instrument of blackmail.
Prior to 1983, there were no specific provisions to deal with marital abuse and violence. But husbands could be prosecuted and punished under the general provisions of the Indian Penal Code dealing with murder, abetment to suicide, causing hurt and wrongful confinement. Since marital violence mostly took place in the privacy of the home behind closed doors, a woman could not call upon any independent witnesses to testify in her favor and prove her case beyond reasonable doubt as was required under criminal law. In 1983, Section 498A of the IPC defined a new cognizable offence, namely cruelty by husband or relatives of husband. This means that under this law, the police have no option but to take action once such a complaint is registered by the victim or any of her relatives. During the same period, two amendments to the Dowry Prohibition Act of 1961, enacted in 1984 and 1986, made dowry giving and receiving a cognizable offence. Even in this case, where a person is prosecuted for taking or abetting dowry or for demanding dowry, the burden of proof that he had not committed an offence has placed on the accused. Furthermore, another section 304B was added to the IPC to deal with yet another new category of crime called dowry death. By inserting a new section 113B in the Indian Evidence Act, the lawmakers stipulated that in cases that get registered by the police as those of dowry death, the court shall presume that the accused is guilty unless he can prove otherwise. Sadly, there are also n number of cases coming to light where Section 498A has been used mainly as an instrument of blackmail. It lends itself to easy misuse as a tool for wreaking vengeance on entire families because under this section, it is available to the police to arrest anyone a married woman names as a tormentor in her complaint, as cruelty in marriage has been made a non-bailable offence. Thereafter, bail in such cases has been denied as a basic right.
Well, are the present laws enough to check violence against women, and are these effective? To discuss this, we are joined in our studios by Madhu P. Singh, a Chandigarh-based lawyer, Gaurav Saini, a representative of the Save Indian Family Foundation, and Mr. R.S. Ghumman, Superintendent of Police Operations and Women's Cell, Chandigarh. Welcome to the studio, all of you. I'll start with Mrs. P. Singh. We had the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, and then various amendments have been made in the law, in the Indian Penal Code, first 1983 and 1986. Has all this made a difference of sorts as far as the issue of violence against women is concerned?
Definitely, because law is meant for the benefit of the society, and women are an integral part of the society, no doubt about it. To say that it has affected both ways, both men and women. Perspective is different.
No, but affected for good or bad?
That's what I'm saying. Perspective is different. This is what I'm saying. For a woman, definitely it is a positive law, which is a tool for her safety and security, to have her place in the family where there was no voice earlier to her. The law has given her a voice. To say misuse, every law, why only say this law? Every law has its own pluses and minuses. But definitely, I must say, 498A, when it was enacted, has been very effective. It was a deterrent at the initial stages. But by and by, things have gone under change. and now we have the Domestic Violence Act, which says the woman is only a complainant and that there is no accused here. It is only the respondent. The role of the police has already been taken out after this, so there is no misuse.
Madhuji, you have been, you are associated with Crime Against Women's Cell.
Please.
What kind of cases, as a lawyer, you get?
See, Women's Cell is an offshoot of the earlier acts, earlier laws, 498 and all IPC provisions. But domestic violence is an independent, it has nothing to do with the Women's Cell or the police authorities. Domestic Violence Act, where the complainant has been given the right to approach the court directly. So the agency of administration or the police administration has been totally taken out of the purview.
Okay.
So therefore, she is protected, the other person is equally protected from the harassment of being abused, the law being abused by the women or in connivance with the police, and harassment to the other family members is already taken out from the view by this act. So therefore, we see the process of law and progress of law as per the experience as available from the society. Inputs and outputs come from the society, and that is helpful for the legislature to change the law accordingly. Now this law has overcome all the difficulties which we had been encountering of abuse and misuse of the provisions of law like 498A, which you have just stated.
Kumanji, I would like to ask you that, between which age group generally people come forward and come to you with complaints?
Generally this happens sometime immediately after marriage.
Okay.
1 year, 2 years there. But I have come across people also where they have grown up daughters, 25 years of marriage, belonging to very well-to-do families. But generally it is, say,
but statistics drop, I think, in that age,
in the younger age group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so are these domestic cases of violence, domestic violence cases, are they increasing nowadays? Or you see any, decline in them?
I think the reporting has increased, definitely, because now law has given a legal institution to the problem which existed earlier there also.
Okay.
So there are two ways, either they can approach us, then we can go to the court, or they can directly go to the court. But
Okay.
it is basically the primary of the court.
So you were saying that cases are reported less these
No,
days?
no, no.
Okay.
They are being reported. But
Mr. Kuman, I want to ask you a slightly different issue. Now we had the Dowry Prohibition Act of 1961, which says that giving and receiving of dowry both are offences. Now we know of a lot of cases who've been punished for asking for dowry, but do we have any instances, any cases where people have been punished for giving dowry?
Fundusha, we have analyzed this subject in the case of existing IPC provisions, existing court orders, Honorable Supreme Court. In no case we could find those ingredients where we could prosecute a person who has given dowry also, because there are certain guidelines issued by the Honorable Supreme Court. So we have to act in accordance.
Guidelines are fine, but dowry giving and taking is a two-way process.
Yeah.
So ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਆ, ਔਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਨਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਤੇ ਲੈਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਨਿਸ਼ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ?
ਸੰਧੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇਖੋ, ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਦਾ ਲਾਅ ਦਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਬੇਸਿਕ ਹੈ ਮੈਂਸ ਰੀਆ, ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਇੰਟੈਂਟ। ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ, ਇਵਨ ਆਈਪੀਸੀ ਦੇ ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨ 76 ਤੋਂ 106 ਤੱਕ ਕੁਝ ਆਫੈਂਸਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਦਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੇਵ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ देयर इज नो ਮੈਂਸ ਰੀਆ ਇਨ ਇਟ। So we have to, when we are deciding a case, we have to decide in accordance with the facts, Supreme Court guidelines, existing law.
ਪਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਗੌਰਵ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬੇਸਿਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਾਜ਼ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆ, ਉਹ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡੌਰੀ ਗਿਵਰਸ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਨਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਪੁਲਿਸ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਆ, ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਸੀਵ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਪਨਿਸ਼ਮੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲ ਰਹੀ।
ਸਰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਕਾਜ਼ ਸਾਡੀ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਹੈ ਫੈਮਿਲੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣਾ। ਦ ਵੇ ਦਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਇਜ਼ ਰਨਿੰਗ ਨਾਓ, ਉਹ ਇਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਹੀ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਇੰਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਮੈਰਿਜ ਹੈ ਦੈਟ ਵਿਲ ਜਸਟ ਪੈਰਿਸ਼। 498A ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਚ ਮੈਮ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਕਿਉਂ ਹਾਈਲਾਈਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ? The misuse is gross actually. ਇਹਦੇ ਸਟੈਟਿਸਟਿਕਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਸ ਬਿਊਰੋ ਦੇ, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ 98% ਕੇਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਕਨਵਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਪਾ ਰਹੀ. ਸੋ ਦੈਟ ਇਜ਼ ਜਸਟ ਦ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਰੇਟ ਫॉर them is only 2%. What about those 98% people who have suffered throughout their life, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਜ ਖੋਤੀ, ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਸ਼ੈਟਰ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ. ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ 498 ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, the litigation goes on. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟਿਵ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ ਸੀਗਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦੇ ਦਾ ਯੂਥ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ 올ਡ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਸੀਗੇ, ਉਹ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਸਫਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਾਈਫ ਇੰਜੋਏ ਕਰਨੀ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮੈਕਸਿਮਮ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟਿਵਿਟੀ ਦੇਣੀ ਸੀ. ਸੈਕੰਡ ਮੈਮ ਨੇ ਕੋਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਡੋਮੈਸਟਿਕ ਵਾਇਲੈਂਸ ਐਕਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਲਾਈਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਵਿਮਨ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ ਡੋਮੈਸਟਿਕ ਵਾਇਲੈਂਸ. Now I think this act itself has been wrongly named. It should be actually the protection of wives against domestic violence. It is not for women. You take a mother, you take a husband's sister, although they are women also. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਐਕਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰੋਵੀਜ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. There is no safety for them.
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ? ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੇਸਿਸ
many of them.
I am sorry to interrupt. ਇਹ ਐਕਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਵਾਈਫ ਵਰਡ ਕਿਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿਖਿਆ. Protection of women living in domestic relationship.
ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈ ਕਿ in practice ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ.
Yes, I am handling a case where there is a dispute between a brother and sister, and we are dispute between unmarried sister, married brother. They are sharing the same household.
Property dispute हो गए?
Property dispute नहीं है जी.
जी.
Brother is trying to trouble both the sisters in such a fashion, and he has even deprived them of the basic necessities. Today the other sister is a total skeleton. Now grab his property under the garb of having property, that is it. But we are getting the protection under this act. Now this act which I am saying completely takes the whole domestic relationship, चाहे वो भाभी है, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਵਿਡੋਡ ਸਿਸਟਰ ਹੈ, ਘਰ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਚਾਹੇ ਵਿਡੋਡ ਭਾਬੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਘਰ 'ਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਚਾਹੇ ਅਨਮੈਰਿਡ ਸਿਸਟਰ ਹੈ, ਚਾਹੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਵਿਡੋਡ ਮਦਰ ਹੈ. ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਐਸੇ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਡੋਜ਼ ਮਦਰ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੇਟੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਘਰੋਂ ਕੱਢ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ. ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਰਾ ਲਈ, ਵਿਲ ਕਰਾ ਲਈ ਜਾਂ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਰਾ ਲਈ, ਤੇ ਖੁੱਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੀੜੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਨਿਚਲੇ ਵਾਲੀ ਖੁੱਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮੰਜਾ ਢਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ. ਇਜ਼ ਨਾਟ ਵਾਇਲੈਂਸ ਟੂ ਹਰ. ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ
ਚਲੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੇਸਿਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ. ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਧੂ ਜੀ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਚਾਹੂੰਗਾ, ਮਧੂ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਚਾਹੂੰਗਾ ਕਿ ਡੌਰੀ ਐਕਟ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਵੀਜ਼ਨ ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸੀ 323 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 326 ਆਈਪੀਸੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, ਉਹ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਦੇ ਵਰ ਕਾਈਂਡ ਆਫ ਅ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ ਵਾਇਲੈਂਸ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ ਵਿਮਨ. ਫਿਰ 498 ਏ ਲਿਆਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਲੋੜ ਪਈ ਆਈਪੀਸੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ? 323
to 26 ਤੇ ਜਨਰਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਵੀਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੇ ਜੀ. ਤੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਮਾਰ ਕੁੱਟ ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਲੱਗਣਾ ਹੀ ਲੱਗਣਾ. ਉਹ ਚਾਹੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੱਗੇ, ਚਾਹੇ ਘਰ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਲੱਗੇ. ਸੋ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਵੀਜ਼ਨ, ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਇਹ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਕੋਈ ਵਿਟਨੈਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਰੇ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਚਾਰ ਦੀਵਾਰੀ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ. ਔਰ ਸਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਕ ਔਰਤ, now 498 again is only for the women, married women, wife.